Thank you for checking out crypto.chartguys.com, the source for technical analysis in the cryptocurrency world. We are proud to announce our own crypto alert system designed to give you the most critical technical trading information possible no matter where you are. Keep your eyes on the market with mobile or email alerts for MACD crosses, RSI levels, and even inside bar alerts for dozens of coins across multiple exchanges. New features and proprietary ChartGuys indicators are already in development. Our alert system is very easy to customize and utilize, so don't hesitate to sign up for the most effective crypto trading tool on the market at crypto.chartguys.com. Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We're going to look at Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and Ripple here on the daily time frame. Then we'll zoom in. Did a video with some alerts information earlier and made a YouTube channel on I made a playlist on our channel for alerts videos, so you can check those out. So checking in on Bitcoin, we have started consolidation for the first time in 4 days. It's the most significant consolidation that we've seen in that period of time. So we have a bearish reversal candlestick forming at the top of this bull move. The ideal scenario for the bulls, in order for them to remain their absolute strongest, would be for consolidation, backtest and hold these exponential supports, and then see continuation and a bullish cross of these exponential moving averages. That would be ideal scenario. Now, we could pull back all the way down here to the $9,000 range and still be forming this higher low pattern on the daily chart that would keep the bulls in control. In order for this daily chart to go bearish, in my opinion, and to say, uh-oh, we might not be done here and we might be heading back down to the $6,000, $7,000 range, would be, in my opinion, it's going to require a higher low to form, a lower high, unable to break the high of the bounce, and then a lower low. That will be the big red flag to me, as in my opinion, we're not going to see the kind of dump that's going to take out these support levels straight from where we're pulling back right now. So again, it will be a higher low forming, lower high, and lower low if the bears are going to take back over. If the bulls are going to see bounce continuation and prove that they are for real, they're going to see a consolidation, a higher low, and then a higher high following through. So zooming in on the 4-hour time frame, we have an equilibrium forming. We have our high of the bull move, the top at this point, up at 11,300, we'll round and call it. We've got our low of consolidation at 10,159. We have our lower high at 10,898. And now the bulls right now are trying their higher low at essentially 10,300. So this is the equilibrium pattern that's currently forming. We'll be a lot more comfortable with it being a really good equilibrium pattern if the bulls can make their way up to 10,600, right in the middle of this range. And if that is the case heading into tonight, then we'll look for this equilibrium pattern to break tomorrow morning and give us an indication that the bulls are back in full control, or that the daily chart is going to see some more significant consolidation. Definitely a lot of volume here up at the top, showing a lot of profit taking in those first two consolidation candlesticks, and going to be watching for the potential that this is time to pull back. The 4-hour chart has been extremely bullish for quite some time now, and this, again, it's not a huge red flag at this point because this daily chart has been so bullish 4 days in a row. Checking on the hourly to where we stand, we just saw the dump. There's the higher low on the 4-hour. And again, the bulls need more follow through. At this point, this is not a convincing higher low on the 4-hour time frame. I need to see the 15-minute time frame give me a higher low and then a higher high in order for me to be a believer that this is our potential 4-hour higher low in a continued tightening equilibrium pattern. So earlier today, one of the members, Chartgal Dinsey, pointed out that I estimated the top of this equilibrium pattern just by looking at the chart and looking at the pullback and saying the lower high, looking for it to form 10,900. And that's just, again, that's an educated guess that I make visually by looking at the chart. And a lot of what I do is because I've looked at so many charts and seen the price action play out so many times that I can give an educated guess as to where levels would be hit. And that's what I did on the weekly time frame for Bitcoin as well, where I said, if this were any kind of chart, I would be looking for an equilibrium pattern on the weekly, and I'd be looking for a lower high to form in the $14,000 range. And again, that's just a visualization of what I would expect for this pattern to happen. And that just is percentage odds. What pattern is most likely to happen? That is one of them. Obviously, there's a whatever percent chance, which could be potentially significant, 25%, 30%. There's that percent chance that it doesn't follow that pattern and we don't see that significant of a bounce. But just in terms of which is more likely than not, that is what comes up in my memory in terms of, hey, you've seen this pattern before, and this is how it usually plays out. So I did that today on the 4-hour time frame and just estimated 10,900. That had to do with 11,000 psychological being a clear resistance level, and just estimating that if we see a lower high just under that psychological level, that would be the potential level that we pull back from, and it ended up being pretty dead on. And again, it's not something that I'm going to trade based on. It's just me looking at the chart and saying, okay, I'm anticipating a lower high on the 4-hour time frame in this range, so I'm not going to enter any trades right now. I'm going to patiently wait for a tightening pattern to set up, and then once we break the tightening pattern, that's when the odds are the most in my favor for a trade to be successful. So I wait for that if that's the setup that we're getting, which it is. But again, not confident our 4-hour high or low is formed unless that 15-minute chart gives us that higher low and higher high. So looking at Litecoin. Litecoin on the daily chart, inside bar, bear break. We had an inside bar, and the bear break occurred at 225 this morning, and we pulled all the way back down to 212. So a very nice signal in terms of a 5% pullback. And now we're seeing healthy consolidation. Again, ideal scenario, Litecoin has a ton of wiggle room in terms of where we could pull back. We could pull back to 180 and still be very bullish on this daily chart. The last higher lows that I'm looking at are all the way down here at 142 and 153. So bulls have nothing to worry about at this point. They want to see declining volume on the consolidation ideally. And again, the ideal scenario would be to backtest and hold these exponential moving averages and then see continuation back up for the bulls. But there will be a nice entry opportunity looking for this higher low to form on Litecoin, especially if, it's the kind of chart where Bitcoin can fall bearish on its daily chart. And in my opinion, that would happen long before Litecoin falls bearish because of the size of the bull breakout that we did see. So overall, Litecoin still very bullish. The weekly chart, again, we got that big time follow through volume. Here, if I was looking for an equilibrium pattern, just estimation visually, I'd say about 275. The bulls can get up to that level. So again, it doesn't mean, in the next week we're going to get up to that level, but it means that would be a potential target looking for a weekly equilibrium pattern to begin forming, which if that does happen, that's going to tighten up for a couple months at least. Ethereum. And again, Ethereum, if you remember, if you've been watching a long time with us, we were watching an Ethereum weekly equilibrium pattern back, let's see, it was in the summer. And this was a clear pattern that we were comfortable with equilibriums. And as the price approached here, this is when we started saying, if we form a lower high, this is going to be a perfect setup for a weekly equilibrium. It ended up pulling back, and for the next few months, that was the pattern that we stayed in. And then once we got our clear bull break, it was, again, this is just a very clear, tight pattern where the odds are not in your favor in terms of a clear break from a tight pattern. That being said, you can play within the equilibrium, higher lows and lower highs. But once the break occurs, everybody sees it. All the traders act on it. And that's when you get the huge explosive moves, which weekly long-term equilibrium patterns, I hope that's what we see, because it will decrease volume and volatility, and it will decrease trading opportunity. But what it will do is give us a very clear swing trade signal once it does break. So again, for me personally, there's plenty of other things to trade out there. I'll gladly trade other stuff and wait patiently for 2 months while these tightening patterns occur on the weekly time frame. And then once we get a break, if I know I'm going to get a 20 to 40% or even more, Litecoin just went 100%. But if we see that kind of gain opportunity, I'll gladly patiently wait for that and then just make sure I strike on it with a heavy aggressive trading style if we do get a pattern that breaks like that. So where we stand on Ethereum, on the daily time frame, again, consolidating. The higher lows on the daily that the bulls want to hold is 826 and 780. So we're pulling back right now. The top is 983, the highest price that we saw. And the 4-hour time frame is much closer to a bear break. So this may be a little lead indication that Bitcoin could break bearish as well. Look at how many times this support has held right here. And we can see back test, hold this support 3 times, and here we are a 4th time. And you could definitely call this a bearish reversal a bearish reversal head and shoulders pattern with the left shoulder, the head, and the right shoulder. And again, all this pattern does is it goes from higher lows and higher highs to a lower high at the right shoulder and then a lower low by breaking the neckline. So that is the potential here. It's nowhere near, well, I guess it is. If we recover, again, 15-minute higher low and higher high, same pattern as Bitcoin. If we get that, then this 4-hour time frame will be an equilibrium pattern. High, low. Our lower high is here at 950, and our higher low is pretty much a double bottom. It was 909 and then 911. So if we see follow through on this 15-minute bounce with a higher low and a higher high, this 4-hour time frame will be a really nice equilibrium pattern on Bitcoin and Ethereum to be watching into tomorrow. 4-hour time frame for Litecoin is also an equilibrium pattern. Didn't mean to skip Litecoin here. Sorry to backtrack. So we have that support. We have the lower high, and the bulls are trying to hold it. So support is 212.45. The lower high resistance is 229. and the bulls are trying to hold the support, and they need the 15-minute higher low and higher high to have a more convincing bounce to be within the middle of this equilibrium range. So the big three right now are all positioned really well in terms of at the same point. They're all forming 4-hour equilibrium patterns. Look at the lack of support here. If I were to choose a short, I would look at these 4-hour time frames. I'd say, okay, who has the least amount of support once we get a bear break? I can see that if Bitcoin breaks bearish, we have a clear support at 9.7. So it would be about a $400 pullback. I can look at Litecoin and say if we break 206, there's a lot of space to the downside. There's a lot less support on Litecoin than there is on Bitcoin because, again, the magnitude of the bull breakout. And I look at Ethereum on the 4-hour, and there's some space to the downside here as well. But again, Litecoin has a lot of space to the downside. I'd be looking at, after 909, we're looking at 895.50, and then down, a little ways down to 826. So the bottom line is there is not a ton of immediate support, and we could see hourly RSI levels get to oversold conditions on bear breaks of these 4-hour equilibrium patterns. So that's the trade that I'm going to be looking for. I've been away from the computer a little bit this weekend and certainly working on other projects, but I will either play a bull break of the 4-hour equilibrium pattern, anticipating that higher highs are coming, or I will wait for a bear break and then hourly oversold bounce conditions. Let's check Ripple real quick. Ripple on the weekly is an inside bar. Support is 95. Resistance is 121. Zooming into the daily, we see the consolidation candlestick, and we never got to the top of this breakout. That was a real fast breakout that occurred from the lows of the dump, and we never broke that. So there is a lower high there at 123, and then 121 is that lower high. Support right now, let's see if we have the 4-hour equilibrium pattern. We have the high, we have our low of the dump, our lower high, and trying to form this higher low here. So support right now is 107, and resistance is 113 in the equilibrium formation attempt. And let's see if the 15-minute time frame, same thing, need that higher low and higher high. So all four of these very significantly correlated to each other on the 4-hour time frame. And we will look for Bitcoin to lead the way, but if one of them breaks before the others, the direction that we break in is going to be a little bit of a clue that will shift the percentage odds that we're going to break in that direction. So if any one of these big three breaks bearish from the 4-hour, the odds that any of the other ones are going to break bearish will shift to favor it. So keep that in mind as well. I appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you soon. Do good things, and I will see you on President's Day Monday, and I will go live at some point tomorrow. We'll go over some altcoins. Maybe I'll answer some questions, and we'll have a party.